The architecture of Thailand is a major part of the country's cultural legacy and the people's sense of community. Thailand is formerly known as Siam, meaning dark or brown people. Now it is called or named Thailand, which means the land of the free. Thailand occupies the western half of the Indochinese Peninsula and the northern two-thirds of the Malay Peninsula in Southeast Asia. There are many religions in the world. Religions help people to live better lives and respect each other. In Thailand, many people belong to four major religions. These are: first is Buddhism. Majority of the people in Thailand are adherents of Buddhism. Buddhism first appeared in Thailand during the 3rd century BC in the area of the present-day Nakhon Pathom. Buddhist temples are characterized by golden stupas or golden temples for worship. Islam is the world's second largest religion after Christianity. It is said to be introduced by Arab traders in the 13th century. Most Muslims are Malay descent. An example of Islamic architecture in Thailand is the Patani Central Mosque in Thailand, built in 1954. It is built in the style of the Taj Mahal. Christianity was introduced to Thailand by European missionaries in the 16th to 17th century. Sa pagdating ng Christianity sa Thailand ay na-introduce din ang printing press, kung saan natuto si King Mongkut or Rama IV, learning English and Latin from Christian missionaries. Sa pagdating ng Christianity ay dumating din yung surgery, smallpox vaccination, and pagtuturo ng mga unang doktor sa Thailand. An example of Christian building is the Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception in Chataburi, Thailand, 1909. It is one of the largest Catholic churches in Thailand. And last religion is Sikhism. Sikhism arrived in Thailand in 1890s. Sikh people operate a free school for poor children regardless of caste, creed, or religion. An example here is the Gurudwara Sri Guru Singh Sabha or Sikh Temple. The materials. These are the materials that are widely used in Thailand or in building structures in Thailand. First is sandstone. Sandstone is used in door parts, lintels, and regular windows. Later on, it is replaced by bricks because it is more favored. Stucco or a mixture of sand, lime, and glue. Wood, glass mosaic pieces, and lacquered gilt inlaid mother of pearl, gold leaf to obtain gleaming elegance or gleaming decorations. Next is the historical and political influence. So, Thailand is manahati sa madaming periods, and nag-uumpisa ang period of Thailand sa the Varavati period, 6 to 10th century. Since Thailand, majority of the Thais are Buddhist, in this period is characterized by Burmese Buddhist forms. Okay? And nakikita sa period na to yung mga fragments and ruins of the buildings of the Nakhon Pathom, or the earliest known capital, was found. Another example is the ruins of Wat Pramen in Nakhon Pathom, as you can see in the image. Another example is the Wat Kukuk Lampon. This represents the last phase of the Varavati period. Dito din na-introduce or na-incorporate ang paggamit ng mga terracotta wooden images and biharn or hall, Central buildings, Thai style or ubusot, sala or open-sided pavilion, and 2 ancient chedis or 2 stupas with relics of the Buddha. Next period is the Khmer Lumburi period. It started on 10th to 13th century in central and eastern Thailand. Khmers introduced the use of stone instead of traditional bricks or rubble bonded with vegetable glue rather. An example here is the Wat Mahadatu Temple in Lumpuri, Thailand. Another trivia class is that kaya ang mga building in Thailand is nag-uumpisa sa mga Wat because Wat or WAT is a word referred or meaning enclosure, referring to specific type of government recognized or large temple. For short, ang ibig sabihin ng Wat ay large temple in Thailand. Wat Mahadatu Temple is a Khmer Angkor type building that has wall court and comprises of a sanctuary temple or tower kung saan nakikita yung sa image is also called a sikhara. It also has an attached portico or mandapa and a heavy arched tampana above the openings. Next period is the Suktai period. Suktai period is the foundation of Thailand's civilization. Dito nag-umpisa mag-flourish at mag-develop ang institution and culture of Thailand. The first king of Sukhothai period is King Pakon Sri Indraditya. Sa pamumuno niya is a type of government style is the father of the town or the paternal kingship. And to give the identity and focus of the Buddhism faith is that they use Buddhist symbol shapes as decorations. The Temple of Bodhi Tree. It is the largest, most puzzling and historical important temple of Sukhothai period. Most for the enormous stucco Buddha. As you can see in the image, it is measured over 11 meters in width. Next period is the Ayutthaya period. It is founded by King Ramatibodi I in the lower Chao Phraya River. It is the largest and most prosperous empires of its time. Kaya tinawag siyang or referred as the most largest and prosperous empire is that nag-erect ng at least 400 wats or temples sa pamumuno ni King Ramatibodi. An example here is the Wat Yai Chaya Mongkol. Another example here is the Wat Chai Watanaram. It is designed to display might and riches, so it has great size and appearance. The dominant feature of this style is sunlight shining into buildings. As you can see in the image, mas pinalaki nila yung buildings, so pag naarawan siya is mas makikita yung details and decorations. Another example in the Ayutthaya period are the 3 palaces for each ruler. First is the Wangluan or the royal palace, occupied by the principal king or the king. Next is the Wangna or Chadra Kasem palace or front palace, built for the second or vice king. And lastly is the Wanglang or rear palace, occupied by the princess of the royal blood. Next period is the Chiang Mai or Lanla period. It is also known as the Land of the Million Rice Fields. It is founded by King Pia Mangrai. It emphasizes on the enormous size of the shrines and relative small sermon or temple's hall. An example here is the Wat Introat temple. Here, stupas were later built from mid-14th century onwards since the entrance of Langkawang Buddhist sect. As you can see in the image, is may malaking stupa or a temple in Lana style Chiang Mai, Thailand. Next period is the Ratanan Cuisine or Bangkok style. This came into being when King Rama I ascended the throne in 1782. This is the construction during the reign of King Rama III had either one of the two distinctive characteristics, in or out. So when we say out, which means nagkaroon ng decorations of the gable roof. As you can see in the image, the roof is very decorative and ornamented. Out, which means that the ends of the roofs are plainly constructed with bricks and stucco. Bangkok consisted of two encircling moats and walls. Guards the entrance of the Chao Phraya River, which flows into hinterland. King Rama V patronized the European architecture and town planning, which influenced the building of the Charry Mae Prasat or Grand Palace. This period, traditional forms were overlaid with ornamentation of Chinese character. That is why some ornamentation in Thailand is familiar with Chinese characters. Surfaces were finished with porcelain tiles. Walls are white stucco bricks. Gables are barge boards. And doors and windows, shutters are of carved wood lacquered in black and gold or painted inlaid with the mother of pearl. An example in Bangkok is the throne room of the Royal Grand Palace. The Royal Grand Palace is a complex, is roughly rectangular, and the official residence of the palace is the king since 1782. The two main roofs intersect at right angles in cubiform plan, with spires rising at the intersection. Another example is the Wat Phra Klo. It is also known as the Temple of the Emerald Buddha, or locally as Wat Phra Sri Ratana Satadhanao. It is one of the most important Buddhist temples in Thailand. Next is the Government House in Bangkok. It is built in 1980, originally built by King Rama VI as residence for favored aid. And then the last example or building in the Bangkok is the National Building. It is built in 1990, built to advertise the client's involvement in modern communications.
Architectural characteristics: steeply sloping tile roof with up-tuned-edge multi-tiered roof lines, open-air spaces/gardens, distinctly ornamental decoration and image, stunning interior murals, vivid colors, loving crafted and gold-adorned Buddha. Architectural structures: temples and monasteries, palaces, and houses. Traditional houses were raised due to heavy flooding or predators. Storage and shelter for animals, made from a variety of wood or bamboo, and prefab panels thatched that are easy to rearrange, usually built as a cluster of physically separate rooms arranged around a large central terrace. Traditional houses ay ginawa siya para sa mga lugar na bahain or kapag nagkaroon ng disaster ay mabilis lang namang maaayos yung bahay if ever na masira. Kasi made of woods lang siya or bamboo. May shelter for animals na din. And kadalasan dito, sa pinaka-center ng bahay, may malaking terrace. Thai houses. Royal houses, northern houses, and floating houses. Central Plains houses are found in lowlands. It has steep roofs with curved barred boards and paneled walls leaning slightly inward. Yung walls niya is medyo nakapasok, and the simplest house consists of a single unit with an outside veranda. Yung simplest house niya is isa lang yung unit with an outside veranda, samantalang yung larger families naman is maraming unit. Central Plain houses, roof, gable, or now. As you can see, yung roof niya is simple lang pero medyo curved siya. Evolved from Khmer architecture and appears in elaborate form on religious buildings and palaces. May pagkakatulad siya sa itsura ng religious buildings and palaces. Gate. Prosperous families usually have a gate. For example, sa pinaka-last steps ng bahay, meron dun na para makapaghugas muna ng paa yung mga residents or yung mga visitors bago umenter sa pinakaloob ng bahay. Kemtieng houses. Built century 1844, Chiang Mai and now in Siam Society, Bangkok, representative of Lanat Thai houses found in Chiang Mai, North Thailand. Kemtieng houses ay meron siyang water jar na nagmamark sa'yo or magilid sa'yo para malaman mo kung saan yung kitchen, granary, spirit house, and water storage. Roofed by a pair of steeply pitched gable roofs na connected sa valley gutter. Floating houses. Dito naman yung mga bahay o shop na nakatayo sa tubig. Hindi naman makakasagabal yung mga buildings sa pagdalo ng tubig dahil malaki pa yung floorboards o pwedeng pag-agusan ng tubig. Royal houses, Wat Phra Kew or Heaven and Earth. The style of architecture followed in Phra Kew is called Ratanakosin style or the Old Bangkok style. The foliage roof comprises of polished tiles with shades of green and orange. There are pillars which have a lot of mosaic-like work done on them along with support pieces made of shiny marbles. And this is another example of royal houses. Summer house of King Chulalongkorn or Vimanmek Mansion was originally built in the late 80s by King Rama V or King Chulalongkorn and was located on the small islands of Koh Sichang just to the south of Bangkok in the Gulf of Thailand. The L-shaped royal palace has more than 80 interior rooms with each room containing exhibits, artifacts, antiques, or personal belongings of Rama V. Dito naman tayo sa Sala Thai. A sala located in a temple is called a salawat. Sala Thai is an open pavilion, used as a meeting place and to give people shade, with etymological roots in the Sanskrit sala. The word in Thai connotes buildings for specific purposes, such as salaklang or provincial hall. Northern houses. Dito naman sa northern houses, yung walls niya is medyo nakapalabas. Unlike din sa may central plain houses na nakapaloob yung walls. And V-shaped design naman yung roof nito, and sa may dulo ng roof niya ang tawag ekalay. And some authorities believe they represent a pair of buffalo horns. Northern rice barn. Rice barn or long cow, an example of Thai traditional architecture in northern region. It is used for storage grain, typically the building made of timber structure, upper ground and roofs by shingle or clay tile.
Hello. I'm Charry Mae R. Sagun and we will talk about religious buildings. Thai Buddhism temples, reflection of the country's widespread Buddhist tradition. So, practiced by 95% of population, Theravada Buddhist is the official region of Thailand. The end plays the key role of many aspects of Thai culture. And what's more, you're almost guaranteed to see Buddhist monk during your stay with 3,000 practices across the region. What is a properly used refers to the only Buddhist with the site resident monks. The Wat word is a Thai word that borrows from the Sanskrit wata, meaning enclosure. The term of varying meanings in each region, sometimes referring to the specific type of government recognized or large temples, and other times referring to the Buddhist or Brahminical temple. Thai Wat is traditionally a school, hospital, community center, even in the entertainment venue. follows by similar design and principle in the same normal be said from the function of the various buildings within the complex, and there's is also a symbolic significance to every part of type 1 complex. So, what is the parts of Taiwan, or what is Taiwan? Taiwan is consist of two parts. Watawat, meaning dedicated to Buddha or temple complex. Second is Sanghawat, a Thai Buddhist temples leaving the quarters of the monks. Watawat, we have both or also called obosot, where monks are perform ceremonies and meditate ceremonies. It is faced to the east and houses means Buddha's image. Both or obosot usually open only to the monks. And meron siyang anim na boundary stones or bisema that defines the limits of sanctuary. Look limit, a large concentrated spheres buried under the temples and boundary stones during the creation of Obosot. Look limit is also round stone the size of a cannonball that are placed to dispose during the religious ceremony. They demarcate the sacred space. Letter B and letter C is para Brabiang and Birham, which is the temple teaching hall. Para Rabiang is a cloister like a galleries around the water of Bosot. Along the walls are Buddha's image and sometimes religious furnitures, or you can see the paintings there. Birham or teaching hall house various Buddha's image is used as preaching hall and as a place for a prayer meditation. Usually, this is the busiest building in Wat, and it is open to everyone, as the visitors behaves according to the etiquette. Ku or Sinha. Ku is a requiree in the form of miniature chedi to the house of the principal Buddha image and enhance its presence, particularly where the image is very small. Singha is the guardian lion at the entrance of the Birham comes in there. In Chiang Mai, they are often to made Burmese style. Ko is the miniature chedi. It placed to enhance Buddha and its presence. Singha is a lion statue in front of Thai temple that represents a guardian who protected the temple from the evil or from the bad spirits. Then Naksudong or Naksudong Makara. From the balustrades of the Birham, the Naga dragon is called Naksudong, emerging from the mouth of Makara and the water beast with features of crocodiles, elephant, and fish. Naksudong representation is a representation of mythical serpent according to the holy scripts that sheltered the Buddha while he was meditating. In roof composed of 3 superposed tiers with the lowest tiers over the porch. Each tier mainly comprised of 2 or 3 sections. The lowest section spreads out like a mother hen and spreading the wings to protect her chick. Temples displays the multiple roof tiers. The use of the ornament tiers is reserved to the roof temples, palaces, and important buildings. 2 tiers is the most often used, but some of the royal temples have 4 tiers. is more aesthetics than functional. Temple halls and the roofs are large to enlighten the roof's appearance. Gable or concave. Gable is usually highly decorated, designed according to the ability of the builders and the wealth of the temple. Gable follows the basic styles. The tiles are made of grass, baked clay, rhoboid tiles, and depends to the status of the owner. In Concoy is the eyebrow pelmet and the carved wooden peacock over the entrance. Concoy decorative elements or pelmets that form arc which represents the eyebrow of the Buddha. Panlome and sofa. A barge board that covers the end of the gable, pretending the roof tiles is falling off. Panlome ties the naga is a symbol of comfort, security because of the Buddhist scriptures. A mystical serpent is described as protecting the sheltering Buddha as he meditates. Naga is often shown as scale and pointing out the scales and called Vairaka. Tapos, syempre, meron tayong Shopa. Shopa is a finial pointing upward in the end of the roof ridges or mas tinatawag nating sky cluster. This design is styled Garuda or the mythical bird. Kung meron tayong naga in Paloma, kung meron tayong naga in Panlome, meron naman tayong Garuda. Garuda is the enemy of naga, and in the temple designs the Garuda at the top of the gable and meant to be grabbing the tail, and naga flows down both sides of the Palome. These decorative roof elements actually represents the Garuda, the important mythical creature in Thailand. Some are also called Samgyong. Some is elaborative decorative art over the framing of the doorways. Some or Samkong is a stack of Lana-style door arches called Sam, and decorative renounced the trial of Chiang Mai Wat Prasad. Tapos yung Huchang designed to be in the form of intervening naga called Nakyo, or naga on its own called Nakatan, and the monkey king Human or the mythical bird Kinari or other mythical beast. Huchang meaning elephant ears that Abe's bracket along the outer wall of the bear hub. The triangular piece of the wood is often too highly ornamented. Chedi or stapa. It is the most in the form of bell-shaped tower and often accessible, covered of gold leaf containing the relic chamber. It can be house relic and a sacred scripture that act as a shrine. Next is Gi is a bejeweled sacred umbrella. It sits at the topmost part of Chedi. It is also a Burmese influence design. Chad is a Burmese-style sacred gilt filigree parasol that are usually installed at the corner of the railing closing Chedi. Square Chedi. A northern Thailand balance is smaller dome on high square base. Each side has a niche curve with a Buddha images. It sits at a raised platform, often with a enclosed walkway for the devotees to make a ritual circumambulation. Next is we have intended Chedi, Suwana Chedi Prang, tapos Suwana Step Chedi. Intended Chedi is a small dome balanced with a square base with indented corners. Swana Chedi Prong ay Ayutayan Khmer styles of a requiring found all over the central Thailand from Khmer. Suwana step chedi is a square step base with 5 tiers above each of the 4 faces containing a Buddha images. In Suwana Chedi Prong, it is a shape like a horn standing on the top of the square or cruciform building with a entrance on one side. Crematorium. Crematorium recognized because it has a tall chimney. Salakan, Korean is an open-sided pavilion or preaching hall. Bangkok-style structure is only found in occasionally in northern Thailand. Hokana or Horakang, the bell stuck on the call monks to devotions. To the announced time, it is struck for noon after which is monks are not allowed to eat or announced to the stopping for the day. Buddhitiri or Buddha footprint. Buddha footprints can be found of pagodas and the temples of Myanmar since Bagan periods in 11th to 13th century AD. It is thus the earliest evidence of honoring Buddha footprints in Southeast Asia. Buddha tree or wisdom tree is a sacred symbol Buddhism for number 1 reason, which is a various represent the place of the Buddha, his alignment and mythical word tree growth toward the liberation and etc.